Imagine being 18 years old. Your whole life is ahead of you. You dream of love, freedom, a career, maybe travel. But instead of stepping into adulthood, you step into a nightmare. One that will last not days, not years, but 24 long years. For almost a quarter of a century, Elisabeth Fritzl lived in complete darkness, imprisoned, abused, and silenced by the one man she should have been safest with, her father. This is the haunting story of Josef Fritzl, the man in the cellar. A story of cruelty beyond comprehension and survival beyond belief. Josef Fritzl was born on April 9, 1935, in Amstetten, Austria. Outwardly, he was a man like any other, an engineer, a husband, a father. To neighbors, he seemed disciplined, private, and even respectable. But Josef lived a double life, one that foreshadowed the horrors he would later commit. In his younger years, Fritzl was known for his strictness and obsession with control. Former colleagues recalled how he demanded obedience and attention, even in minor details, and he was no stranger to crime. In the 1960s, he was convicted of attempted rape of a nurse and served a short prison sentence. Later, he was caught for indecent exposure. But these crimes were brushed aside, hidden in his personal history, as if they were just unfortunate lapses. Behind closed doors, Josef was far from ordinary. He was manipulative, cold, and terrifyingly methodical. His wife, Rosemarie, lived under his authority. His children, including Elisabeth, grew up in a home where obedience wasn't just expected, it was demanded. By the time Elisabeth entered her teenage years, she longed for escape. She ran away once, trying to carve out a life beyond her father's shadow. But she returned, and that return would seal her fate. On August 28, 1984, Elisabeth had just turned 18. Josef asked her for help in the basement. He claimed he needed her to hold a door while he adjusted it. Trusting him as her father, she followed him down. That door was no ordinary door. It was heavy, reinforced, part of a secret Josef had been building for years, a soundproof, windowless dungeon beneath the family home. Once Elisabeth stepped inside, he locked it shut. The sound of that lock closing marked the beginning of 24 years of captivity. Josef told his wife and neighbors that Elisabeth had run away to join a cult. He even forced Elisabeth to write letters saying she was fine, carefully crafting the illusion that she had abandoned her family. To everyone else, he was just a worried father left behind. To Elisabeth, he was now her jailer. Elisabeth's new world was a hidden chamber of concrete and darkness. The cellar was a maze. Narrow passages, low ceilings, sealed doors. No natural light, no fresh air. The air was damp and heavy, the walls closing in. At first, her room was small, bare, with nothing but a bed. Over time, Josef added a bathroom, a hot plate, and a small refrigerator. But these improvements didn't make it a home. It was a prison. Every day, Josef would descend the steps, locking each door behind him, carrying food, supplies, and violence. He raped Elisabeth repeatedly, asserting complete dominance over her. She lived in constant fear, unable to scream, unable to run. But life had to go on, even underground. Elisabeth had no choice but to adapt. She decorated the walls with scraps of paper, created routines, and tried to give her children, the ones born in captivity, a semblance of normalcy. Over the years, Elisabeth gave birth to 7 children. Kirsten, Stefan, and Felix grew up in the cellar with her. They knew nothing of the outside world. Their childhood was shaped by flickering artificial lights, damp concrete, and their mother's desperate attempts to create games and learning with almost nothing. Monica, Lisa, and Alexander were brought upstairs. Josef told his wife that Elisabeth had abandoned them, leaving the babies on their doorstep. Incredibly, Rosemarie believed him and raised them as her own grandchildren. Michael, a twin of Alexander, died shortly after birth from respiratory issues. Elisabeth begged Josef to take him to a hospital. Instead, Josef ignored her pleas, leaving the newborn to die. He then disposed of the tiny body in the furnace. For the children below, the outside world was only a fantasy. Elisabeth read to them, taught them, and did everything possible to protect their innocence, even as she suffered daily abuse. Above ground, Josef Fritzl was a man of contradictions. He appeared as a landlord and family man, maintaining an image of order and normality. His wife Rosemarie had no idea what was happening beneath their home. Neighbors described Josef as strict, but no one imagined the truth. The deception was meticulous. He used Elisabeth's forced letters to maintain the cult story. He locked the cellar with complex mechanisms that only he could operate. He managed to juggle two families, one in daylight, one in darkness, without raising suspicion for more than 2 decades. By 2008, Elisabeth had been imprisoned for 24 years. Her eldest daughter, Kirsten, was now 19 and critically ill. Elisabeth begged Josef to let Kirsten receive medical care. Fearing she might die, Josef finally relented. On April 19, 2008, he brought Kirsten to a hospital in Amstetten. Doctors were alarmed by her malnourished condition, lack of medical history, and strange appearance. They demanded answers. Josef's explanations didn't add up. The police were alerted. Soon, Elisabeth herself was brought out of the cellar to explain her daughter's condition. At first, terrified and brainwashed, she refused to speak. But when police promised her she would never have to see Josef again, she told them the truth. On April 26, 2008, Austrian police raided the Fritzl home. What they found shocked the world. Behind 8 locked doors, down narrow passages, was a hidden underground prison. Inside were Elisabeth and her children, pale, malnourished, blinking at sunlight for the first time in years. The cellar was described as a house of horror, small, damp rooms, crude furniture, no windows, evidence of years of human existence in total secrecy. The world was horrified. Headlines called Josef the monster of Amstetten. Josef Fritzl was arrested immediately. At trial in March 2009, he faced charges of rape, incest, kidnapping, false imprisonment, enslavement, and negligent homicide for baby Michael's death. He initially claimed his daughter consented, insisting he gave her a good life underground. The court and the world were appalled. The evidence was overwhelming. Elisabeth's testimony, her children's condition, and the physical evidence in the cellar sealed his fate. Fritzl was convicted on all counts and sentenced to life imprisonment in a psychiatric facility. Elisabeth, now in her 40s, faced the unimaginable task of rebuilding her life and helping her children adjust to a world they had never known. Authorities relocated the family to a secret, protected location. They received therapy, medical care, and support to slowly reclaim their lives. Reports suggest Elisabeth has tried to give her children normal lives, allowing them to experience school, friendships, and the freedom they were denied for so long. As for Josef Fritzl, he remains in prison, isolated, despised even by other inmates. He later changed his name to Meyerhoff, but no name change can erase the horror of his crimes. The Fritzl case forces us to ask unsettling questions. How could this go unnoticed for 24 years? How could one man maintain such a double life? What does it say about human evil and about human resilience? Josef Fritzl will forever be remembered as one of history's most monstrous criminals. But Elisabeth defines this story, not him. Her strength, her survival, and her determination to protect her children are what endure. This case is one of the darkest in true crime history, but also one of the most powerful stories of survival. If you found this story as chilling as I did, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to True Crime Vault 360. We uncover the darkest mysteries and the human stories behind them, one case at a time.